We are back with expert health advice from Cone Health about how to keep safe this Thanksgiving with COVID still in the air. One person wants to know, my cousin just had COVID. How long after their symptoms are they safe to be around?
Then, yeah, that is a great question. First and foremost, the person that's had COVID, I'm hoping that they've recovered and are feeling enough, well enough to come together with seeing their family members. At a minimum, it should be 10 days with at least 1 day of feeling improved and not having any fevers. However, if somebody has any history of being immune suppressed or has cancer or any kind of medication that decreases their immune system, it turns out that they can shed COVID of the SARS-CoV-2 virus a little bit longer. So their period is actually 3 weeks.
Just to clarify, that's 10 days or 3 weeks from what point?
So from the point that the symptoms started.
Someone wants to know, are rapid tests as accurate as the normal kind of tests that take a couple of days?
So the PCR test, the one that usually the turnaround time can be a day or more, that is probably the most sensitive test that we have for SARS-CoV-2. And the antigen test, the trade-off is that it may not be as sensitive. However, the turnaround time is really quick. You can do, as long as you swab and follow their directions properly, the test results come back in 15, 20 minutes.
Someone wants to know, if they just got the vaccine, is it safe to go around the family?
To be fully vaccinated, you should have, depending on which vaccine you received, it's usually 2 weeks after that you finish that vaccine series. So if they just, for instance, my kids just got their vaccine 2 weeks ago, so they only had their first dose, so they're not fully vaccinated yet.
So what are you going to do to protect your kids this year since they aren't fully vaccinated?
So they are going to be masked, so they're not fully vaccinated yet. And so the safest thing for them around my mom is to have them to be masked.
Does everyone else need to be masked too, or is it enough to just mask the kids?
It really depends on who's at your dinner table with you, right? I think the safest thing is everybody being vaccinated. Nobody has symptoms. Nobody knows that they've been in close contact with anybody, and that seems to be pretty safe. But again, when you have that element of kids involved or people who maybe are vulnerable, they don't have the same immune system or much older, that's when you start adding those layers of masking. And if you have access to getting kits to test, if everybody's negative, then that also is a little bit reassuring not to have the masks.
Okay, so if the kids are wearing masks, but cousins from different households are all playing with the same toys and all of that, is there a risk there?
So if anybody is, if you have unmasked people, kids who are playing with toys, and if there's anybody coughing or sneezing on them, that's when that exposure to toys are there.
Okay. What else do you want people to know about Thanksgiving this year?
So I think it can be safely done. However, I want everybody to take the proper precautions, so if anybody's sick, try to avoid, either try to get tested, to figure out what you have. And if anybody's had close contact with somebody who has COVID, reconsider coming, together with the rest of your family. But if people are all vaccinated, have their boosters, generally, who've been always wearing masks in the community, I think that's really safe to be with your family.
And really quick, what would you tell parents who are still thinking about whether or not to get their kids vaccinated?
We need everybody in the community who can get the vaccine to get vaccinated. And we've had already, let alone just in our community, we've had already thousands of kids already get vaccinated. It is very safe, and it helps keep not just your community, but your family and your loved ones safe.
Well, thank you for helping keep us safe this holiday. I hope you have a good one, and I hope you do too at home. You want to share all this with your family because you're going to gather with them in a couple of days. We made it really easy to do that. Just check out the 2 Wants to Know section of WFMYnews2.com.